You see what I mean? Like they learn this behavior from the people that came before them, right? Who were, doing the same thing that some of these um quote unquote conquerors were doing, like Leopold. Um, Listen to what she says.
It's wet season in the central Kimberley. I'm driving about 300 kilometres inland from Broome, trying to get to a small community called Luma, where there's a woman with a very special, unusual life story that, as far as I know, has never been recorded before.
So she's going to bother people, who remain uncontacted to this day, right? No, uncontacted. It's the first time she saw someone, right? 1960s. That's what this Aboriginal elder says. The first time she saw them. 1960s, right? So you got to understand something, right? You be living in your community, never seen these people before, don't have anything to do with them, just, living a simple life, you know, away from people. You have a language, you have a culture, you have a tradition, you have a ceremony, you have all these things. And up one day, these people just pop up. What are they coming to your village for? What are they coming to your village for? What do they want to know? Why are they so outside of timid to see you? You see what I mean? Like, say if I were to go see these people one day, right? Like, how would that be? Like, how would that look? Like, why would I go all the way out my way to go see these people, right? Why would I do that? I gotta pay people to take me to a border. Then once I get to the other border, I gotta see if my translator speaks the language of the people at that border, and see if that border can take me to see these people. And so it's like it's a whole flush out.
Within minutes of arriving, I'm directed to her house.
My name is Pugroboya. I come from the bush.
She looks just like my mother.
I've been coming 1967.
Bugara grew up in the desert. The Jowling woman is one of only a handful of surviving elders in Australia who remembers life before contact with white people. Now around 70 years old, her life is one of quiet routines, walking daily to the aged care centre.
She's really bossy at times, like most of the time, so yeah. But she's good. Yeah.
I come from Great Sandy Desert. I was born in Whitting, what a hole called Whitting. I've been grown up all my life in the bush.
Bugara's ancestors had lived uninterrupted for thousands of years in the vast desert plains.
We walk around everywhere. We collect everything. We to go everywhere. Water all up the water hole.
But the 1960s were a time of great change in Northern Australia. Suddenly there were new people moving across the landscape, white people. It was 1967 when Bugara first heard the truck approaching. Do you remember the first time you saw a...
And that was the same for every Aborigine person across the world. That was the same for every last one of us. It was the same for every last one of us. Once you get back to like the 1800s, you notice, like when you look at the photos of your people, they're all dark skinned. For the majority of them, they're all dark skinned, right? And if you notice, right, if you have like a lighter grandparent or something like that, you notice they're coming from Virginia. You can trace them back to Virginia.
white person?
Yeah, I seen him with white person walking with shirt and trousers. And my sister Sally over, he went and hid in the bush. And I told my mommy, Mommy, you look like us, same.
Booger has just told me something pretty crazy, which is that the moment that her life changed forever was actually captured on camera. Apparently, that moment in the desert when she first saw white people, there was a woman there taking photographs, and she's got an album with the originals here at her house. So we're just going to have a dig around and try to find them.
Somewhere. Hey, no, I don't know. This is my mom. This is my grandmother. This is my mom.
Should we go outside, have a look?
It's about out.
The single photograph shows her family's first interaction with the whitefellow world. The missionaries and welfare officers handing them clothes and guiding them into the...
And you look, right? The missionaries are supposed to come and give them grants and give them resources, right? So they can better their community. They haven't given them anything, as you can see. You know? They haven't given them anything. And that's why the Sentinelese, right? They like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Don't come here. The Sentinelese like, nah, do not come here. You know, because they still have oral tradition from when the last time they came and they took people. So, you see this guy, right? He's, you know, he probably got one of these women pregnant or something like that, you know. You know how they do. They come in the name of, you know, the Holy Roman Empire. They don't come in the name of Jesus. They come in the name of the Holy Roman Empire.
back of the truck. But Boogerah says she used to have a whole set of photos that were taken on that life-changing day, including one showing her posing for the camera. But the photo album cannot be found. Maybe lost, maybe stolen.
I've been looking around for the photos, but I couldn't find it. I don't know where he was.
I promised to try to find the photos. They're irreplaceable, showing the moment that two wildly different cultures intersected in that hot desert sand. So I'm back in Broome, and I think...
So these are the people who Mayor Brandon Johnson is related to, right? The desert Australians. These are the people he's related to. Keep telling people, like, when you look at African Americans, we all do not look alike. Even though we probably have the same migrations in some cases, but we all don't look alike. You know, some of us come from this region, some of us come from that region, some of us were already at certain places where people had arrived. You know what I mean? It carries.
I think I've had a breakthrough after several months of digging. There's a local historian and author who's passed me on this CD. She's had it in her possession for many years. It's got 23 images on it, and she reckons one of them is that missing photograph showing Boogerah as a child. Before long, I'm back on the road to Luma. I find Boogerah in her usual spot, hanging out with her best friend and next-door neighbour, Polly, who came out of the desert the same year. It's been 6 months since I came and visited you. You been well?
I've been well. And I look happy.
It's time to show Boogerah the photograph. Is this the photo you were telling me about? How do you feel to see it?
Hey. This is me, Boogerah. I came with the name of Boogerah. I had the name because my dad called me name.
The photo was taken as the last of the desert families were moving on to cattle stations and church-run missions along the coast. Some voluntarily, exhausted by drought, others rounded up reluctantly.
So you know, like whenever Europeans come, right, it's going to be a lot of disorder. It's going to be a lot of war. It's going to be a lot of famine. You know, to this day, like our people still don't understand why it's so important to have communities separated from them. They still don't know why, even after all this history has been published. They still don't know why we need our own community separate from them. So here, Booger it is, right? She's living peacefully in her community, peacefully. And here comes Europeans, right? Telling them that they need to go on this mission or that mission. They need to take refuge here. You know, they need to move further away from the banks or the deserts.
The photographer was a nurse who was volunteering at the LaGrange Catholic Mission, where Bugara and her family were soon taken.
Oh, they've probably been through a lot of changes.
My mother,
Bugara's cousin is visiting from Perth and seeing the photos for the first time.
For her, a young girl, it would have been confusing. That picture says it all right there.
So, like, what they went through is no different than what Native Americans went through, and we more than likely probably went through the same thing. They like to talk about the Trail of Tears, but exactly, we're going through that right now, actually, because like we have to go to schools, we have to do this, we have to do that, right? And if we don't do it right, what they do, they come in, they take the children, you know, they declare a state of emergency, right? And like nothing wrong is going to happen. It's just like when people are speaking their own languages and stuff like that, like you're not constantly bombastized with, you know, television and stuff like that. You start to develop your own lingo. You start to develop your own language, your own terms. And that's what a lot of blacks do today. We develop our own languages. You know, we can split up and start talking Creole. We can split up and start talking English. We can split up and start talking French. Like we can switch it up. We can switch up and start talking Spanish. You know? So I can imagine like it's very hot on that side of the globe. I can imagine it's very hot.
Leaving home, you know, and wherever this mob was taking them. It would have been sad at that moment, but it would have been scary.
Bugara went on to marry a man named Jimmy, and they had 3 children, 2 of whom have since died. Bugara visits the desert less now. She's getting frail and can no longer drive. But when she closes her eyes, she's back there.
I'm sorry for that country. I'm very sorry. So sad. I've been crying everywhere I hold because I got the memories in that place.
So again, this is what Native Americans try to do. They try to be like the Aboriginal Australians. This is what they try to do, right? This is how they try to come off to the American media. You know, the Aboriginal Australians. They try to come off like, you know, they try to come off like that, you know. Because you got to remember, the Aboriginal Australians, they were like the first dreamers. You know what I mean? They were like the first dreamers. That's why to this day you still don't you rarely see them in America, right? You may see them in the programs, but eventually they go back home. Like you might see them at a a mission house or something like that, and they end up going back home. You know, like in Detroit, they have something called a Covenant House. It's what people. It's what at-risk youth go to get their GED and stuff like that. You may see them there, but eventually, when they complete the program, they go back home. You know what I mean? But like Europeans, they'll never understand like why we are the way that we are, like why we don't want contact with them. They'll never understand why. You know, like literally, they've been given free reign to do what they want and to control the media. They've been given free reign for these up until now. They've been given free reign to do what they want. Even the Catholic Church is not siding with them now today. They're not siding with them. You know, like you got this guy, Pope Leo. You know, here he is, right? He's coming out of Chicago and he's going all the way to, Rome, Italy or somewhere. He's going all the way over there to run the Vatican. You see what I mean? So I'm sure he knows enough about Chicagoans, right? And enough about Americans to understand like why there's that xenophobia that exists there, or why there's that hesitance on our part. Why we don't want to be around Europeans, or for that matter, invaders or conquerors. Why we don't want to be near them, you know?
They've come far, very far, a long way, and they're still here, managing both worlds, I guess.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders are advised that this video contains images and voices of people who have died.
In the remote West Australian desert lies a vast glittering salt lake. Yukulchi Napangati often returns here to Meroa, her country, where she and her family once lived a traditional desert-dwelling life, caring for the land just as their ancestors had done for millennia. Until one day...
So when they say caring for the land, right, all they're talking about is, us trying to develop a country, us trying to develop a place where we could go and just be among ourselves. What Europeans have had all this time to do. And I noticed that they haven't done it because they're still around us. They run all the downtown offices, just the regular things. They run them all. So when we try to do something that's just for us, right? What do they end up doing? They end up trying to block it. They end up trying to block it. We're not supposed to have governance with them. And our people still to this day do not know that. We're not supposed to have governance with them. After all the human rights crimes that they've committed against us, shooting us down in the street, making rubber tires out of us and stuff like that, like all that garbage that went on under Leopold. We're not supposed to have governance with them. You see? So I don't know what's going to happen. You say 10 years from now, with all the studies that's going on right now on the global market, I don't know what's going to happen. But I know, like, as far as us like trying to have families and speed up, this whole, like, because a lot of us don't have families, and the reason we don't have families is because of colonization. If colonization wasn't a thing, a lot of us would have families. you know, but we can't freely go where we want, right? Because they've mixed into our nations. They've mixed into our nations. We can't freely go where we want to go. You know what I mean?
Everything changed. Today they're known as the Pintuby Nine, a family group who made international headlines in 1984 when they emerged from the desert. Before that, they remained largely unaware of European colonization.
And this is so crazy, right? You see African Americans with these phenotypes. You know what I'm saying? You see them with these phenotypes. You know. So it's like at one point in time we had contact with all these groups over the world that were considered Aborigine. We had contact with them. You know. And you think about it, we don't even have contact with something like we don't have contact with Papua New Guinea, even though we look like them. LeBron James, he looks Papua New Guinea. We don't have contact with Papua New Guinea. Not today. Because of European colonization. You see what I'm saying? Freedom of movement had to be easier before Europeans came along. Freedom of movement had to be easier. It had to be. Cause we don't really know what happened in the 1700s and the 1800s. We don't really know. We don't know what it sit down and talk to someone who was born in 1873. We don't know what that's like. Even when you look at people who were born in the 60s, right? Physically, right? They look different than the people who were born in the 90s and in the 2000s. They look different, you know? Because of so much admixture, right? You have this new group of black Americans, right, who are coming up, right? They have a brown and tawny complexion, right? Um, they're not the same people as these people right here. They're not the same. So it's like, what will they lead this nation to? Because they're gonna be the next leaders. So it's like, what are they gonna lead the nations to? You see what I mean?
They'd never met a white person, seen clothes, or tasted sugar. In this seemingly barren landscape, Yakulchi and her sister Yalti found rich sustenance.
Kidney one. And healthy one. No, no coffee. No, all right.
Each day, they would wake up early and travel up to 40 kilometers in search of water.
Kitcham kolomat, kitcham rock, putcham katanga.
Now these are people, right? If they were in
Kitcham kolomat, kitcham.
if they were in America, right? Europeans would not be treating them the way that they're treating them on their land. Because Europeans don't have resources to build insane asylums and stuff like that, they're not treating them the way that they would treat them if they were in America. If they were in America, these people would be on all type of psych drugs and they would be in insane asylums. I know because I went through it. No, you cannot, like right to this day, when these people call my voicemail, I'm speaking my language. And what do they proceed to do? They still proceed to leave a message and they're speaking in English. And they're ignoring the whole factor. That's exactly what I mean. Like these people, their whole political nuance is like so escaping. Like it's so like these people would never get away with this type of stuff in the past time. They wouldn't. Like to this day, if a nurse called my phone or a doctor, right, they would leave a message in English, even though my voicemail is me speaking in my language. they would proceed to leave a detailed message in English as if I'm supposed to understand what they're saying. Temperament and all, like as if I'm supposed to understand it.
Sometimes they'd see mysterious objects flying overhead.
We will go under the tree, hiding,
What did you think it was when you saw it?
because Mamu.
Pintupi, the last of the loneliest people who still wander across the face of the earth, on an endless trek through the deserts of Central Australia, searching for food and water. There is no time for anything else.
The Pintupi Nine hadn't always been alone in the desert, but that all changed in the 1960s when a severe drought took hold. Many families migrated.
So how does a drought take hold? How does a drought take hold? You know, it has to be engineered. Now, when you look at the people who are there right now, right, these people, and they're there with colonizers, they're there with people who came from the confines of Britain, right? The people who are from Britain and Wales and all these other places, they live way better. You know, just like here in Americas, they live way better than these people, way better. All their welfare is taken care of. You see what I mean? Wherever we go throughout the world and we see Aborigine people, we all are suffering from some type of last catastrophic event. You know, some lasting event. And we know theirs, right? It's the Reconstruction era. You know, the Reconstruction era, which changed everything upside down, which gave all the purpose to Europeans, and all their Aborigine people who suffered after that. So you go before 1960s, before 1870, these people were probably doing way better off. Like they just didn't magically appear and say, "Up, we're doing bad." You know, these people they had things. They had a civilization, right? The earth was taking care of them. Because you got to think, right? The idea of seeds, the idea of planting a seed, right? Why would you need to plant a seed when things just grow out the ground? When you can speak to it and it'll grow out the ground. Like, this is what I'm saying. We don't know so much about the 1700s and what our grandparents from back then knew. We don't know too much about it. You know? Because you got to think, at some point, we were taking care of ourselves. And that knowledge has not been passed down. Like, even when you think about the fact that, you know, you have some of us, right, who stand up in the kitchen and cook on a stove. But before that, and still to this day, you have Africans, right, who cook on the ground. You still have Africans who cook on the ground.
East with welfare patrols to the anti-government outpost of Papanya, attracted by the offer of free food and reuniting with family. Mantua Nungala's family was among them, but they never intended to leave their country for long.
When they go there, Popanya, we went to the home. We gotta go back.
Finally, in the early 80s, a group returned west, establishing the community of Kiwakura. But one family remained in the bush. One night, Pintupi men were camping near Kiwakura when a tall, naked warrior emerged from the darkness. It was Wolampiri, one of the Pintupi Nine children. Afraid he was a sorcerer, one of the men fired his gun.
He had a very magnum with it, a rifle, right up in the air.
Terrified, Wollempiri fled through the desert, taking the Pintupi 9 with him.
When we saw a motor, we ran. My brother and I didn't know anyone, but we were being chased. We didn't know who was chasing us.
So you see how the flies are in her eyes and stuff like that? What are they doing with the air and with the food that makes it so differently, like, than what's happening in Africa when the malnourished kids have flies and stuff on them, or when we're in America in the South, right, or when we're eating watermelon and how flies come around? Like, it's something that they're doing with the air and with the food that attracts, the flies to different populations. Something that they're doing. Because, like, even when you think about it, right, you know, you sitting in your yard and you see a chemtrail get dropped, you don't know what time it's going to drop in Australia. Even if it is getting dropped, you don't know if it is getting dropped. You don't know because you're not there to see it.
Chased. We didn't know who was chasing us.
After several days of searching, a group of men from Kiwakura neared the family's camp, where they found the Pintupi 9 hiding, terrified. The men explained they knew the family from long ago and gave them the option of coming in from the bush. They hesitantly accepted.
The saga of the so-called Lost Tribe, that family of Pintupi Aborigines, continued in the press today, with the Aboriginal Affairs Minister Clyde Holding coming under fire for allowing the whole...
So I'm going to go ahead and close out. I hope what I say kind of like tip people off and kind of got people to thinking, like, you know what, it probably is time we take this seriously and try to reach out to other groups of people to try to figure out what they know and what we know, so we can come together and kind of like put an end to this sort of European exploration that's causing all of our families to go to waste. Because all they're offering is what if you have an alcohol problem or something like that, or you abuse drugs or something like that, all they offer you is outpatient treatment. And then if you really make them mad, right, they offer you inpatient treatment. So they're really not helping you. You see what I mean? They're really not helping you. So we got to figure out how to get away from them, right? And we have to find a way to defend ourselves against them, because we're clear that the only people who are going around causing problems with different populations, right, injecting their oral history, right, textbooks. Oh, we brought these many people over from Africa during the transatlantic slave trade. Go to find out, when you look at the records, only 3 people were brought over here, or some more or less, But you see what I'm saying? Like, this is the issue that we're having. You see? This is the issue that we're having. So that's what we have to figure out. And that's another person too, Roland Martin, right? He looks just like these people, right? Roland Martin, he looks just like these people. You see, like, even when we're looking at people, we don't even realize who we're looking at. We think like, okay, I'm looking at this person, but we don't even, like, the people who we're around, like, we're ancients of years old. Ancient. These people left Europe how long ago? We left 170,000 years ago. What they left Europe probably like 20,000 years ago or something like that. It started mixing with populations. Some of them ended up in South Africa, right? You see what I mean? And then you got to think, did you really mix with them? You see? Because who needs a passport? Who needs immigration? That's all you hear in the news is about immigration. That's all you hear in the news. Immigration this, visa this, green card this. Don't none of them hold a green card. So they're purposely trying to put them next to you and say that they're you. Even though that they came over here after Reconstruction era during the Ellis Island opening. You know, like we're letting these people through the ports. So they're trying to say that they're you now. They haven't given you the opportunity to say, up, do I want union with these people or not? They haven't asked you anything. They haven't polled you, surveyed you, or nothing. They just put them next to you and said, you know, these are U.S. citizens, just like you. And I'm not trying to sound harsh or anything, but I have to be real about this, man. I have to be real about it. Because if anybody been following my page for a long time and they can look at my older videos and they can see like when I'm leaving voicemails and stuff up, you know, I'm me every time I'm around whoever I am. You know, like the person you hearing right now is no different than a person, you know, who is not making this video, documenting his life. I'm the same person. So when you hear them leave a voicemail, right, and they're pretending like everything is okay, that's not the case. You see what I mean? So people, we have to be serious about this, man. And I don't know what it's going to take. You know, like for some reason, right? You know, you're trying to find out who is who, and you're trying to get in the mix with everybody, right? Trying to figure out is this person have the same values as you? You know, you find out that they don't. You know, it's a bummer. You know, it's a bummer. Because we're constantly trying to figure out, like, you know, who is who. You know, so you still got some of us out there who just not paying attention, right? We creating babies with these people and stuff like that. You know, we not paying attention. We want the kid with the good hair and stuff like that. We not paying attention. We'll figure it out, you know. But I guarantee you, you know, while you was playing around, you had Africans who were building, and I'm talking now just not building, but building huge networks. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm a part of one of them, so I ain't trying to hear nothing. You feel me? I ain't trying to hear nothing. I'm building networks with Africans, so you got a lot of people who say that they don't want anything to do with Africa. Okay, that's fine. You know, but when you find out how deep this history is, and you gonna realize you weren't taking it seriously, you weren't paying attention. You can't blame anybody but yourself. You know, this goes deep. This goes deep. So we got another video. This goes deep. Look at the young man. I think this is a young man, or I'm not sure. Got the Tupac shirt on. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the days and times that we're in. This video was documented 6 days ago. These are the days and times that we are in. You see? Who wore number 7? Was that Durant or Kyrie? I'm not sure who, but he got the Brooklyn Nets jersey on. So we you know what I'm saying, we giving them messages. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tupac fine here. You all can come here. That's the message that I'm getting from this shirt. Like, you all are us. Come back. You see what I'm saying? I would love to, like, you know, and again, the only reason that I'm still here in America dealing with this garbage is because, my mother, she's still here. So, you know, once my father and my mother is, no longer here, I can't see myself dealing with the politics in America, right? I have to leave. I got my pension. So it's like, what am I still here for? I have to leave. You know, the little time that I spent in Minnesota got to be around, the people from Liberia, the people from uh, East Africa, right? Kenya. Um, the little time I got to be around them, right? I didn't have to go out my way to introduce myself to them or to want to be around them. They pulled me to them. Whenever they were having their food, their dinner and stuff like that, they pulled me to the side and say, "We're having goat and curry. Do you want to partake in this?" You know what I'm saying? That's what community is about. It's not leaving anyone out. You know, I don't feel that way around Black Americans. With Black Americans, we have this attitude where it's just like, you know what, we're all defeated. We don't know which way to turn. You know, and a lot of the times it's a lot of playing going on. It's a lot of playing. Placating. So, and that's what I mean. Like we don't know. Why aren't we this welcoming to each other? Because we're surely not welcoming to each other. More groups of other people are more welcoming to each of us than we are to ourselves. You know what I mean? I mean, the weather alone just makes you want to leave, right? It makes you want to leave. It makes you either want to go to Central America or South America. The weather alone, you know, I could see myself going to Central America, South America, right, in the next 20 years. You know, I'm probably not going to have children, because colonization have gotten so eager and so fervent, um, to the point where it's just like, you know, it's gotten so feverish, right? Where it's just like, you know, even when you try to talk to some of the women to see if they have a level head, they still partake in prejudice against you just by how the way you look, you know, you know. And I'm grateful that, I've had the experiences that I've had. Like, I used to be into brown skinned women, right? I used to be into them. And then I would notice, like, when I would try to talk to them, they were always, and I'm just talking about the women who I grew up around, they would always, like, try to, push me to the side like I wasn't important or anything like that. Like, like I didn't just say hello to them or anything like that, right? Um, oh, he's a lame. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of time. So, you know, now, like, if I were to have a child, I will make sure that my child carries this humility, carries this humility. You know what I'm saying? Carries that humility. Why would I want to have a child with someone who doesn't know themselves? See how dark that lady is right here? Why would I have a child with someone who doesn't know themselves? That's the mistake I was making early on when I was growing up. I kept trying to have children with women, right, who didn't know themselves, and who was confused because of the decisions of their parents. You know, so I wouldn't make that mistake now. I wouldn't do it. You know, I will make sure again, like if I'm with a woman, right, I'm making sure that she has the L haplogroup. I'm making sure that she's um my complexion or darker. Like, I will make sure of that. because we're trying to create community. We're trying to create communion. And with community and communion, it comes with communication. That's a standard you have to be a part of. That's a standard that you have to reach.
Different clan groups or different tribes work as a team to look up at the country because it's all connected through song, stories, and ceremonies.
Grandpa, my totem, he made this big river, went this way. Yeah, we got big, more important places here. That's why we want rangers to look after this land here, to mind the sacred area. The songline's running through here and there. Songline 1 coming in is through here. We call him Kunabibi. The songline tells you where you can go, where your country. It can tell you where water, and it can tell you where sacred site.
And you see, like, his descendants, all they have to do is just keep trying to find a way to get distant from Europeans. That's the only thing they have to figure out. Because their genders get along. Their genders are not arguing with each other. Their genders are not confused about who they are. They don't look different than each other. You see what I mean? Like, when we're talking about the sacredness or the protective escapement, right? When we're trying to create like some sort of harmony with the path we're choosing, they've already gotten that down. They've gotten it down. They're not confused about who they are and where they come from. And this is where I kind of see, like, the Native Americans, right? While they're arguing with black people about who's from this land and who's not, right? They gotta consist with the fact of, well, where did you get your storytelling from? Where did you get this from? Where did you get that from, right? To me, this is just raw. The way that I came, it was just raw. But the way that they came, right, it's just like the Aborigines. It's exactly like them. It's exactly like them.
Country is governed by a cultural system, and the system has always been in there. You're born into that system. Every one of us is a Mingiringi who's got the land on our APA, and every one of us should have these other 3 groups of people that work on behalf of the landowner. Chungai, Carolyn, and Abuji. That's form a quorum on decision making when we talk about land. I like to take care of my country and still looking after my culture. I still want to make it stronger and for the next generation. So I'm here today with my homeland. I love this place here. I sing the song, it's water. We call it Gugu. Jirelon, ako lele raj baragan aban ngala ununga bolo ako ko wala jirelon. That's a water song now for this water, my country. Every trip when I get out from town, go doing work at bush, I'm feeling comfortable and happy. I'm happy to see country like this. That's why the country need the land owner, the country need them back, to go back to the country. Take it back to number one. We drink it. Keep us clean and healthy.
And you see, right? I only own 2 acres of land. That's all I own is just 2 acres. And I don't go to them to this day only because, like, the community I live in, right? I don't feel protected in it, right? Like, I wouldn't feel protected if I was on my land. I wouldn't feel protected at all, you know? I wouldn't feel protected. I would still feel like a statistic in my community. You know? They are not going through all this just to say that this is their land. They're not doing that. They're like, hey, we've been here since this time, that time, and our phenotypes are consistent with each other. That's how we know this is our land. And then you have Africans, right, who are even complimenting that fact by even backing them up when they say that, right? This is our land. You have a lot of Africans that know that they didn't just come out of Africa and just landed there, right? They had their own governments there before a lot of the people had got there today, right? Who are just arguing differently. So I would probably feel, yeah, I would probably feel safer like if I was just like in another county and the laws were different. And when I say another county, I'm just talking about anywhere. Like I would feel better, you know, like say if I was in Mississippi, I think I would feel better as opposed to just being in Michigan, you know? Like I rode past my property the other day, man, and someone just, you know, I'm not sure who does these things, but like, you know, people they see open land, right? And they just gotta mess it up. Like I saw garbage out there. I saw garbage cans on my property, you know? And the only thing I can think of was just like, you know, how can you not respect another person's space like that? You have to dump stuff on it that's not even yours. You see what I mean? Like people don't respect like the black American, right? The brown American. They don't respect space. They don't respect your space. And it's like a lot of demons hunt our people, right? A lot of demons hunt our people. So it's just like they feel like if they feel like you're tranquil, they're gonna do everything in their power to make sure that you experiencing what they're experiencing, as far as like the negativity part of it. If they feel like you're having a bad day, they're gonna. I mean, if they feel like you're having a good day, they're gonna find a way to make sure you're having a bad day. I mean, I rode past some property. I'm like, what is this stuff doing on my land? Then I was like, you know what? I probably am gonna have to pay $400 out of pocket to get my property cleaned up a second time. And I just thought about it. I said, nope, I'm not doing it. And if the city complains about, you know, what they should do, you all don't want to pick this stuff up, you know, you just want to leave it there. Okay, you can have the property back. I don't want it. You know, like literally, I plan to have watermelon growing on my property, and I can't even grow watermelon this year because people just dump stuff on it. You know, that's what makes me mad. Like when you're trying to progress, and there's just people who just want to drag you down along with them. You know what I mean? So that's where we're at right now. These people, that's all they have to do is just stay away from the world. Remain uncontacted, right? Just remain uncontacted. Stay away from the world. Because once you get a taste of it, right, you're gonna want to go back. You're not gonna want to be a part of it. Once you get a taste of it, you're not gonna want to any parts of it. Great peace, Yakoki.